Hey, good morning. Welcome to Married Life. Here we are in the Relove Guitars workshop, and what am I working on? Well, beautiful sunny day out there, and I have got what started life with me as a bit of a battered, kind of road-worn Squier Affinity Strat, which I got for not a huge amount of money. Because it's not great condition body, and also the pickguard was knackered and stained and whatever. So I've taken this neck, also the frets were completely worn out, so I've taken the neck, I've refretted it, waiting now to finally complete the fret leveling. I've half fret leveled it, or I've done a basic level. I'm going to wait till we get the strings on and everything and do a final finessed fret leveling. And I'm currently in the process of putting together a new pickguard for it with Ironstone Gold pickups. So this is going to be quite a step up improvement for this guitar. New in the workshop is a couple of extra hangers which I've been able to put here, so I can just grab a guitar and stick it on there, which is brilliant. So I can do something, hang it up. In fact, I've got two of them. So there you go. Hang up, out of my way. Don't have to put it on the floor. Just leave it dangling there for a bit. Do some stuff on the bench and come back and get started. So I'm in the fiddly bits at the moment, so I'm just putting the Ironstone pickups in place on this new pickguard, and I've heard that for a reasonably budget price, I think these are about 35 quid or something like that, but not a huge amount of money. I've heard these are a superb quality single coil pickup, sort of quite hot, quite vintagey sounding. So I'm going to see whether this recommendation bears out. I'm sure it will. I'm sure anything will sound better than the bog standard Squier set of ceramic pickups, which aren't exactly that exciting. So I've got a bit of soldering to do. Once I get everything in place, just going to sort of strip out things and replace them. I'm not going to, at the moment, I'm not going for any new pots or capacitors. I've got the same stuff from the Squier. Just want to hear the quality increase or improvement on these Ironstones. So get them in flat to begin with. So yeah, just the weekend just gone, got married, which was really, really nice. Dead simple thing. I think some folks have, if you've gone to the Reloved guitars page, you'll have seen a shot of a selfie, I think, or no, a picture of me taking a selfie of me and Claire just before the ceremony thing. It was great. It was really low key, no big deal or anything like that. So we enjoyed it. We had all our combined kids down and nobody else, so it was a kids and their partners only deal, which was really nice. I am going to just clip these together with a little cable tie. Might not be the ideal thing to do, but you've got to get them sort of sitting down in a straight line, which isn't going to be very easy to do unless I find some means to pull them all together. So let's see if this works. Yeah, so the wedding was very simple, very quick, but we had a really nice time. The kids came down, and we had just had some quality time messing about at home before we went into the town, and we did it very unpretentiously, very low key, and we went into the town and started the day with some cheesy chips in the local cafe in the market, which is a traditional family thing. We've done that for all the years that my kids have been coming down. I don't like the fact that this wire here is waxed, and in place. This wire here is loose. I don't like that. That's not encouraging, and I don't have anything to glue it back in place with to stop it, although I might actually do it with a blob of no more nails, because that worries me. Not like breaking off, so I'm just going to squirt a bit of this into it and let it let it dry out. Take a while though to set around it. I have to do some other things for a while now. But yeah, I don't want that coming loose. Don't know if that will actually set the way I want it. It's not like a silicone rubber, which might have been a little bit better, but I don't have any of that knocking about. Yeah, I don't want that sort of movement on this. Not ideal, because before you know it, that will break off these contacts, the connections on the back. Ironstone, I'm not impressed. Okay, so in the meantime, I'm going to take this apart. I mean, even these are sort of slightly better constructed, not dependent on being held in place for a start. Yeah, so I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little map of the wiring, because I'm not very experienced at where everything goes, so I just need to be sure of what's what. So my old-fashioned way of doing it is to get a whiteboard, which I've got, and get a little drawing going. Never hurts to be safe rather than sorry. So I know where things go. So for example, I can trace the neck pickup. I draw my little thingy up here, and I know it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 little posts. 5, 6, 7, 8, and I've got neck pickup goes to number 1, neck pickup, middle pickup goes to number 2, and bridge pickup, of course, goes to number 3, with all their earths going to the top. I need a pair of cutters. Okay, so the rest of this will come out and go into the be placed into the new pickguard, and then we'll just solder those wires back. And before I put this through, I will remember to take off the cellophane on the new pickguard, so we don't end up trapping it, as always happens on these things. You end up with a sort of bunch of crinkly plastic underneath the volume tone knobs, which make a really annoying sound as you turn the knobs. Okay, so there's still bits of the old cellophane still on these. That's what people put the knobs in the factory, and then they just rip out. They seem to rip the cover off, or the polythene sheet off, and whatever's left underneath the knobs is what you've got left. Okay, there we have it. So that's the old one. here we go. We'll start with just putting the pickup selector back in. I do hope that this bridge pickup isn't going to prove to be a problem. Yeah, having just said all that, I now must stop after this bit and take off the polythene, or else I'd be finding myself in the same situation that I've just been complaining against. There we go. Yeah, so married life, eh? Cool. Well, we've been together 13 years, so the time had come. And it seemed like a nice thing to do, and it was our way of, I guess, saying to our families and our children particularly that we are committed to being together for the rest of our days. Okay, so just you need to know which is the volume, obviously, and which is the tones. But while they've still got a whole bunch of wires attached, it's fairly easy to see. And the volume has the connections going off to the input socket, as well as the earth wire that goes to the tremolo claw. So gets rid of the last bit of cellophane. Tries to get rid of the last bit of cellophane. So we hope at some point we're going to have a honeymoon, but well, we don't know quite when. I think there's usual money considerations, plus I think even if we had the money right now, I think one of the things that we'd want to do is to make sure that I was well enough after my operation the last few weeks, so it would be, probably wouldn't want to go straight away now anyway, but we'll see. We'll carry on saving our pennies so that we can go somewhere worth talking about, because the one place the last place we went on holiday was the one that's, I think, spoiled us for evermore, and that's the Maldives, and I think that's the only place we'd want to go on our honeymoon. And for the purpose of spending every hour of every day underwater, which is what it's all about there. Okay, so this is our stuff ready to go, and I'm just going to just put these. I've got some slightly cream coloured kerr knobs to put on, which they just go a little bit better with these pickups, and it's a nice set of slightly more vintage colours, and I think it offsets it quite nicely. So I don't know if you can see this. If we point the camera at the thing, we're going to have quite a nice looking Affinity. As I said, the body isn't great, but that's not the end of the world. Now I am going to tape this for a minute into the position that I want to hold it. I want it to set. I'm just going to literally tack it down somewhere. So if it sets anywhere, it will set in the position that I want. Right, so set there, please. If it does, that's what we hope. Yeah, so not exactly a perfect condition body. It'll be hard to see on this camera what's wrong with it, but it has some it's had loads of stickers, and people have then not painted exactly, but somebody's kind of scratched it to remove something, and it's all a bit not perfect. But this is a guitar I'm not going to get hung up or worried about the condition of the body, because this is about how it plays. So we're taking real care of the neck, the new sets of frets, and particularly the tone. So I've got all the components here, which is now, we've come now to the it's interesting. I've got several sets of things going on in here. I've used a different set of screws, which is okay, and I've used a different neck plate, which is good because it hasn't got any scratches on it. So we've got all the other bits here: tremolo, screws, back plate, springs, the string trees 1, string tree 2, and then pickguard screws and various different things. So and what we haven't got on this neck is we don't have little screws for the tuners, because I think on this, they're located by lugs, so they don't need screws, which is cool. So there's our stuff, and as always I'm going to take this apart and I'm going to make sure I can clean up everything under here, because that's the one way of making it look a lot nicer. So we just take off all these things, just making a note that the two end ones have shorter grub screws. They're all in fairly good condition, so there won't be any rusted problems, but we'll just get all these out. And here comes Morris at the point of quality control. If you come up here, Morris, there's going to be bits flying everywhere, okay? So I recommend you don't. Not much room, Morris. No. Stuff everywhere. No. Look, you can make here. Look, you make a little. Sorry, Morris. Let's get the blades over there. You can go here. Look, it's made for you to sit on. All right. Come on. Never wants to go where I tell him. Morris. Right. There we go. So end pieces. Morris, you come and sit. Come and sit here. You were quite happy sitting there earlier on, all peaceful and not bothering anybody. So short ones. There they are. Long ones. There they are. Okay, you go on there. I'll sniff the stuff over there. Right. So just for your information, he's still wandering around. I'm going to get some naphtha for cleaning. Morris, you don't want this. This is sticky. Go down here. Come on. Down on here. That's where you need to be. It's your place. So I got the naphtha here, and Morris still insists on being part of it. And I'm just giving the plastic here, everything basically, a bit of a clean over. Yeah, you don't like it, do you? Run away. Hurrah. The whole of that guitar's had an overall clean, so it's, as I say, even though the body isn't in perfect shape, it is cleaned up, and it's all sort of fresh, which is what I'm doing here with all this hardware, just to bring it back to kind of life a bit. No reason why not take the time to clean all these components. Let's get the thing we need. Just tighten up the screws on this plate here and make sure it doesn't rattle. 3 big screws on the top, and they're all loose actually, so tighten them all up. That gives a bit more solidity to this thing. It's not the full weight version that you'd ideally want to see for additional sustain, but it's not. It's pretty standard. Come on, you down before you lose all my bits. Come on. Thank you. you might get the hint. So as I say, just giving everything a once over. How about you just stay down, Morris, for now, because there's too many little fiddly bits for you to help with. Yeah, so cleaning everything up time really, as we get to the exciting bit really of putting the whole thing together again. Don't go out and see who's attacking who. Go on, you're a cat, that's much more interesting. Yeah, so putting things together is the bit where we start to get precise with the fret leveling, for example. So right now, with the neck where it is, we've done an initial fret level, which is like a broad sweep, and that's perfectly good to get a really sort of once over level, and it allows us to take off any I suppose significant amount of material if we have to, before putting it back together again. And then once it's all back together, then we can do the sort of precision leveling, which is just the last bit, and that's with the guitar under strung playing conditions, which means excuse me, which means that it's going to be very accurate, and much more accurate than just leveling it. When we leveled it with the neck off and flattened, I used in this case I think it's a 9.5 inch radius. That's the radius we've got on this guitar. Used a 9.5 inch radius block with sandpaper on it, so that kind of enforced a good consistent 9.5 radius. And then what we'll do once we've put it under string load is to just really fine tune that with the tunable fret leveling tool, otherwise known as the banana variously, or the Sam stick some people have called it, or the katana copy, poor man's katana. It doesn't really matter what it is, it's just a truss rod with some sandpaper on it. But the most important thing is it lets us level with the neck under a certain amount of relief. But it's not the relief that's the important bit, it's the compression, so that it's levelling under proper playing conditions. Right, so that's all my component parts cleaned up a little bit, and now the thing to do is to put them all back together again. And I know sort of roughly which, well, I don't know which order they're in, but I can sort of guess. There you go. Just make sure I got the two end bits in the right place. So I'm just going to put them all together again, and it doesn't matter that these screws are a little bit rusty. It doesn't have any effect on the operation. It just, what matters is all the most important bits move, and are free moving, so that they will intonate properly when we need to. So doing this cleanup on these things is a really good way of just checking everything, because you'll quickly find where things are seized. And I can also put them back in an approximation of what I know will be the correct intonation pattern, although it won't necessarily be accurate because my start point will be probably off, but it can give us a fairly good impression. And we usually find that the intonation pattern goes in 2 blocks of 3, so we can preset that without too much problem. So, and Morris is now settled on the other bench, which is good. So I was lucky, I got these 2 extra, in fact I got 3 extra Hercules hangers for £3 each from a local seller who was clearing out. And I think when I started buying them they were a £5 each anyway, new, and they've gone up in price since they became really the standard that everyone uses. So getting a few for, or getting three for £3 each was pretty good going, and very pleased with that. So I was able to put one of them inside in the house, which means all my guitars now are off the ground and safely out of the way. And then on top of that, I was able to use two more out here to give me that extra, tighten that up, that convenience of a couple of hanging spots. I can just put the guitar I'm working on just out of the way. I just realised I am probably blatting you with bleeding phone blast. I'm so sorry, I've done it again. Right, let's get this beastie back together. I'm just gonna, Morris is trying to get my attention still. Just gonna move a few things out of the way before I put this together. Give myself some space to get everything together, and Morris is immediately going to occupy that space. Thank you, Morris. Now, would you like to come down here where you've got room? Come on, come on, you. Come on, wet nose. Come on. He doesn't like being put down. He feels a little bit put out by that. But okay, so let's start with dropping in the tremolo block. So I'm going to put in the 6 screws. I'm going to leave them with some freedom of movement as well. In fact, I'll use this battery version. Yeah, I'll leave them with some freedom to move. So I'm not going to put them in tight. I'm going to stop it there where it tilts. So our friend Galeazzo Frudua has some very good descriptions of how to set your 6 screw tremolo, particularly if you want it in a floating operation, which we might do with this. So I'm just putting these in just to anchor it for the time being, and we would need to make some fine-tuning adjustments if we're going to make this thing float. Quite a bit of nice movement there. So we could have it kicked forward to begin with and giving us some backward movement. So that's basically what I've set it to do. Now as we flip over, we can get the strings in. Again, this is into this alloy stuff, which isn't by any means the nicest material in the world for a tremolo block, but it's all we've got when we're working with Squiers, I'm afraid. So there we go, a 3-spring version. It's got quite a lot of pressure on because it's cranked all the way in at the moment. So we could pull that out a bit for the time being. And then we could work on that a bit later on. We'll give it some distance to go both ways. The Galeazzo Frudua tuning method, no, tremolo setup method is really interesting because it uses tuning to establish when you've got things set up right. There's a really nice way of doing it. It's hard to explain in one go, but I really like his approach. I've written it down a few times and then I lose it. It's not, for me, it's not intuitive, so I have to kind of keep the instructions somewhere to hand. Anyway, So what I'm doing is I'm just replacing now these tuners, which are nice quality sealed Squier units. I've never had any problem with these as far as tuning stability is concerned. I don't feel moved to replace them with anything better. Pretty good generally. I haven't had any problems with these. They don't seem to break. I'm not saying they won't ever, but in my recollection, I've not seen them breaking. I've had quite a few tuners in the sets of 3 on Les Paul style guitars break. I don't know why that is. Maybe a lot of them have been older, possibly, but they can often shear off at this point down here. I don't know if it's because maybe there's a great tension or something. Who knows? Anyway, so this is the simple Squier tuners, which are positioned by lugs on the other side, pre-drilled into the headstock, so they locate and they're very easy to do up. You don't have to add any extra screws. You just tighten up from the nut side and then you're away. They do need to be fairly tight because they will otherwise come undone. Okay, and then we're going to go with string trees. We've got 2 and one slightly taller than the other, so the taller one will go closer and the narrow or the shallower one will go further away, and they should go down until they rest on their little kind of bushings or whatever you might call them. So we're getting there bit by bit. We're not far off now in a place we can put a set of strings on. Now for this guitar I'm going to need a set of dummy strings first. I don't want to put decent quality strings if I can help it, because they would be subject to quite a bit of moving around as we're doing the fine-tuned fret leveling. So that would kind of wear them out a bit and damage them. So ideally, either we get a set of spares from somewhere, and I'm not sure if I've got a full set anywhere, and if I haven't, then I will use some of the Toman strings that I bought, which are £1 or something, about £1 a set. These are elixirs. Okay, what would they have come off? Who knows? Problem is with Strat strings is that they are longer. They need to be longer than the point is that a set of used Les Paul strings won't work for restringing or test workshop stringing of a Strat guitar. Does that make sense? Only because by the time they've been put on once and trimmed, they're then a sort of finite short length, and you've got no room to reach the top E tuner if you come to use them on a Strat like this. So I'm going to hope that what I'm doing here is going to turn out. Oh, this is fiddly. Come on, these are a bit. I think I've just taken the B string off, not the E, when I meant to take the E, and I've also put it under a lot of stress. So that's the B, but what it will do is it will tell me straight away if I've got enough room. Is this off? Yeah, this is off a Strat. So problem with using an old set of strings, particularly if you're going to do it on a Strat, is how do you get that curly thing through the body of a Strat, out through the trem block successfully. And to do that you have to painstakingly straighten up this curly bit of wire as well as you can. Now on a E string or the B string like this one, it is just a royal pain. The thinner it is, the harder it is. But you'll do it if you want to save yourself £4 for a set of Ernie balls, or £5 or whatever you pay for them. But or even if you want to save yourself £1.50 or whatever for a set of Toman strings. It seems it's not a lot of money, but it seems such a shame to chuck something away when a second-hand string like this will do a perfectly good job if you can only get past the first hurdle, which is the threading bit. So it's all a matter of patience, and like I said, it's mainly the B string and the E string that you're going to struggle with, because they are flighty little coiled things. So let's see if I can get anything, you won't see this, if I can get anything through here into service for the purpose of restringing this baby. See, even if it's got a slight curve in it, it's very, very unlikely even to go all the way through the body. That's the trouble. That's the trouble. So it's that first few inches that are critical to be straight. If you've got enough room, you might just chop off a bit. If you've got a straight bit, you can afford to chop the very end off to use the straighter part. But chances are, having threaded this once before on a Strat style guitar, there won't even be that much leeway. So it's kind of one of those things where once I get this through, if I can, I will switch off. Ooh, I'm through on the B, hooray! I'll switch off and save you the misery of watching me do it on the other strings. Now you notice, by the way, I'm stringing this up without the scratch plate on, and I don't need the scratch plate on to do the fret leveling. I just need the guitar under playing tension. So I'm going to get on with this part of it whilst leaving that bit of glue on the Ironstone pickups hopefully to dry. Now, one of the things I haven't got here, that's going to be a problem, which I forgot about, but I'll take care of in a minute now, is a nut. And I put them all back in here, which may or may not have been a sensible thing to do. So for this guitar, it has a flat bottom, and I need a new Strat style nut. I have some belief that I have some, but I may only have them in black graphite. I may not have a set of white ones, strangely. I've got quite a few in the Les Paul department. Sorry about the noise. Yeah, so is that curved? No, it's straight. That's straight. So I think I'm going to have to go black on this for a start, because I don't really have much choice. The alternative is somewhere in this. Some of these are the original ones, which I may have to just shim to use again. I can't remember which came from where. I think one of them, that's a curved one, so that won't be the one. Although it actually works. It just has 2 points of contact. The question is, will it need a shim when it's pushed all the way in? Let's get it in the right groove. Truth to tell, it will. We don't want to go, that's a bit too close. So I have here some brass, which I like to use for my shimming purposes. So I'm going to cut a very narrow piece of brass think it's quite hard. Nice tin cutters, they make things very easy, but I'm never quite sure if it's exactly the right width or whether I'm going to end up having to just cut it down some more, but I think that was about right. It also curls in a funny twists and curls at the same time. So I will pull off this thingy, line myself up a cut point on the shim. And this shim now, I can tell just from the way the strings are sitting, this shim will give me exactly enough extra height as I need for this this nut on this neck, which is great. And then I can put it in here physically for now, and then I can glue it in place later on. So this is going to give me an extra 1/3 of a millimetre, 0.3, because I know that the thickness of this brass is about 0.3, and 0.3 is about what I want when I finally come to measuring the gap here, so that starts me out in the right sort of position. Now I'm just going to find myself somewhere where I'm going to disappear. Right, now I've got myself the top E, which is going to be the hardest, the most boring bit of all to untangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video, get this thing untangled. It should be easier with the rest, and I'll come back when I've got all of these strung up. Okay, so I have the old strings all set out on the guitar, and what I want to do now is just to make sure that I've got the nut settings that I want, the string height over the first fret, and I'm just going to use this just to support the neck. Okay, so I'm going to check what I've actually got. I'm going to drop off the first 3. I'm going to look at what I've got as a height under this A string first of all, and I'd probably expect it to be quite low, probably less than 3. Actually, it's just above 3 here. I think we've got 3 or less. Yeah, go for 3 all the way across, but they're just about on 0.3 of a millimetre for the lowest one, so I'm going to go for 0.3 on all of these as my benchmark figure. So what I'm doing is I'm going to just slightly file down that slot until I get exactly 0.3 of a millimetre action over the first fret. Now I know this is going to go down just slightly when I do a bit more fret leveling, but it's going to be microscopic, so it's not going to make too much of a difference. So I'm just aiming for the point where this starts to buzz, and I know I've got the right height then. I'll take it as the buzzing point. I'll drop this one into its slot, change gauges of file. Before I cut, check its height. Now this one is already lower, and I can see that, so we're starting lower, so this might in fact be my low spot, and we can go as low as 0.2 comfortably, which this is probably 0.25, so if I go to 0.25 I'll go back to the other ones to make sure they're all the same. Yeah, okay, that one's, let's just try 0.3 again. Oh look, breakfast.
Breakfast.
Thank you. I'll just...
Breakfast in the afternoon time.
Actually it's just 0.3. I'll stop for breakfast, back in a minute. Okay, so we're on to the next stage, which is fret leveling this neck in its playing position. And what I've done is I've placed some little feet, which are all exactly the same size, onto the neck here onto the wood, the fingerboard, and I have made sure they're roughly equidistant, which is something like this. And the idea is to tune my truss rod so that the 3 points are all touching exactly, and I can tell from experience when they are, which is exactly there, and I can also tell when it goes beyond it. So a little tiny tweak means I've got the truss rod curved to the same shape as the neck. Now what I'm going to do is just slack this off a little bit, because I want to actually what I want to do is pull it off to one side, but I don't have any means of doing it. Do I need it? Let's see if I can do it without it. Normally I would just put a little piece of garden wire or something on there. I don't want to pop the string basically, so I can just hold it off to one side, I think. And the idea is I'm just going to let this truss rod very lightly go up and down on the frets, and it's going to just take off any metal that's there, but it's also going to, what it'll do is it will take down any high spots on the frets, and it'll pretty quickly reveal the highs and the lows, and I can just stop after a few goes and just check out what's happening. Now visually I can see that it's cutting here, 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 a little bit here, a little bit here, tiny bit there, none there, none there, some there, quite a bit, quite a bit, quite a bit, little bit, quite a bit, none, none, none. So it's showing me which are the high spots and which are the low spots, and we've got some low spots here and here. Now low spots create high spots, if you like, so what I'm looking for is to be able to play clean notes all the way up, and there's still a little too much of a buzz there for my liking, so I'm going to continue working with this, and that's what I'm going to do, very gently, keeping that E string off to one side. I'm just going to very lightly work these frets, pretty much using gravity on this truss rod fret leveling tool. Now what's going to happen is, as I cut these high frets down a little bit, hopefully we come closer to the low frets and balance it all out. At the moment we've got clean notes playing all the way through, but I'm hoping this will just do the last little bit of precision, really. That's all this is for. It's just getting that last bit of precision so that we can not have it any zinging or buzzing at all. It doesn't take that much hard work to do because we've already leveled this thing out first time. And the nice thing about having strings in place is we can go straight back and check. That's pretty good. I'm going to stop at that. Then I'm going to go on to the next string. Now what I'll get is a little bit of wire at this point. I can find where I put it. And the purpose of the wire will be to just pull the string off to one side, and I now do declare that I've forgotten where the wires have gone. And normally I use garden wire at this point, and I've tidied it up somewhere out of sight, and as a result it's not available. I might have to use a different kind of wire. I'll find some garden wire from somewhere. No. Some garden wire there. This is knackered. Maybe I'll use this bit. I'm sure I'll just come across it in a second, but until I do, aha, there you go. Hidden down here. Okay, so what I do is I use a bit of this green stuff, and I'm going to just pull the B string off to one side. And basically I'm just pulling it together with the E string, so I just get myself into the space where the B string sits, and I'm going to do the same bit of leveling. I'm just holding the truss rod in place. I'm not pressing, I'm not holding it down or anything, I'm just letting it move and keeping it basically along the track of the B string, so I'm making sure that I don't just do either side of it. Okay, so this, once I've done this, the B string, I'm going to just check the shape or the relief of the truss rod for the next bit to make sure that I've got the I'm tracking the actual curvature of the neck, and sometimes it will change over the entire radius as you move towards one side or the other, so I will not assume that it stays the same, I'll double check it. I'm happy with that. So the issue here is we don't have to keep going if we're getting clean playing notes. There's no demand that we end up with all the frets kind of shaved down any particular amount. It really is about doing only enough to make sure that we're okay, that's still good. Yeah, we're just doing it enough to make the notes play well. Okay, so lifting off this one, shoving it off to one side there, and again I'm going to use a pull with this nice garden wire just to yank it off to one side. I can get into this slot here, and I'm just going to work this a little bit, and then I'll do the same and keep on going. So once I've done that, then we'll be into the next phase of it, which will be to re-profile each of these frets, because right now they're flattened across the top. That's the result of the leveling process. They tend to flatten out, and because they're flat, they won't play very well, and they will also in danger of messing up the intonation of the string, because the point of intonation tends to move towards the front edge of the flat spot, and as a result it messes up the distance, the length of string to the bridge. So we need to reshape them back into nice smooth dome shapes. See, that's good enough. It's playing, it's playing cleanly. Put that one this side this time and pull the other way. Yeah, playing cleanly. So, oops, tie this up a bit tighter. Okay, so we're not having to do too much here, which is nice, and that's the result of having done an overall fret level first. This rod will, of course, deform quite a bit if we press too hard down on it, but you can probably see that I'm just letting it do it mostly under gravity, its own gravity, and I'm just holding it, using my fingers here to hold it in shape. And I know it probably looks a bit funny to some of you people with vivid imaginations or whatever, but it's a really effective way of leveling your frets, I can promise you. The shape of the truss rod stays accurate enough to produce the fine-tuned fret leveling, and that's the interesting bit. It is a good idea, if you can, to do a broad fret leveling first if you have enough fret material. These are brand new frets, so there's plenty of material. More to do, so it's a little bit zingy there, but yeah, if you can do a general or a first level, first pass I won't call it crude because it isn't even crude, but first pass fret level first with a more regular fret leveling tool. It does all the sort of heavy lifting, gets rid of the bulk of the material that you might be having to move, or it gets rid of the really high spots, for example. So this then lets you, once you've done that, you can then follow up with the fine tuning. Of course, the bulk first fret leveling is done with the neck in sort of passive flattened condition, which we know isn't entirely the most accurate, although it's effective. And this fine tuning is done with the neck in fully strung under normal playing conditions, which allows us to do the fine tuning. Okay, so this one's got a little bit more needed on it, hence I'm putting a little bit more force into it. So these strings will get chucked away. Very nearly there. Yeah, these strings will get chucked away and replaced with new ones. But before we put new strings on, I will hold on a second. Yeah, another one of those wonderful spam sales calls. Anyway, yeah, so after we've done the leveling, the fine-tuned leveling here, then we will reprofile every fret to reshape them to nice smooth kind of hump shapes, domed shapes, whatever you want to call it, and then we'll polish them up to a playing finish. And once we've done all of that, we're just about ready to restring. Then I will put some oil on the wood to bring it back to life, because at the moment, because of everything we've done, it's looking very dry, but it's natural. It's natural it will look like that. Okay. Right, next one. Yeah, a little bit of work at the top end there again. Yeah. So you can see that it's a delicate process, but it's great to be able to do it with this budget tool that many of us will have lying around, either in a broken, discarded neck somewhere in your guitar workshop, or maybe you have a knackered old guitar that you could just pull the neck off it just for this purpose and pull out the truss rod. Because if you have, then you've got this tool. All you need then is a bit of self-adhesive sandpaper, which you can find quite easily on eBay, and you can actually get quite a lot of it for not that much money. It's pretty economical when it's all said and done. So and this version of this tool, inspired by, as I've said many times before in these videos, inspired by a tool made by somebody Italian guy in Japan, which is a very good tool, and it's very well worth having if you've got the money. Nice. If you haven't got the money, then this version of it will cost you next to nothing and do a pretty good job for you. Okay, so I'm just pulling one string off at a time, and technically you can see that changes the tension slightly on the neck. But it's not so much that it totally messes up the benefit of this thing. It's very, very small change in the overall tension that this neck is under. But I am careful to only shift a string at a time to keep that neck, keep it under the right sort of pressure. So we'll dry through. That'll do. So there we have it. That's an important stage done with the tunable truss rod, tunable fret leveling tool. Dead simple. Twist it, deforms, match it to the curvature of your neck under playing conditions, and away you go. Do your fret leveling, your fine-tuned fret leveling, I should say. And don't try and do the bulk fret leveling that way. So this guitar now, out of tune, but it is ready now to take the strings off, mask off the neck, and get into the reprofiling and polishing stage. And we don't need these old dummy strings anymore, so this is the point they come off. Obviously, when we put this guitar back under tension with a new set of strings, what will happen is the neck will go back into this same playing configuration, and we'll find that the frets as a result line up perfectly again, nice and level, as they have done here. So this next bit involves using a custom tool for the job. There are a few different variants of this kind of tool out there, and they range from some very sort of cheap ones to the top of the range ones, which tend to be made by, quite often the cases, they're made by StewMac in America. That's where I got mine from. What we're going to reprofile these frets with a fret crowning tool, and we're going to use the medium side of it. That's quite an expensive tool, but it's very, very much worth it. Even if you only do a few guitars in your own lifetime, this will save you fortunes. I'm tempted to use these strings again, but having bent them straight once, I think we'll be pushing our luck on this. So I'm going to cut these so that we don't end up using them again, and it'll make it easy enough to push them out this way. So that's an old set of strings reused for the important process of loading the guitar neck and doing both the slots on the nut, and also for doing the fret leveling, the fine-tuned fret leveling. Okay, I'm just going to take this and quickly brush it. If I can even see where the brush now is. Where's the brush gone? It's behind here. Okay. So a familiar little process coming up now, which is where I'm going to get some masking tape. It's a bit noisy, so I won't show you through the whole process. I'm going to basically cover up the whole of the fretboard, which is because it's still dry from all the re-radiusing and the work we've done. It's easy to do, and the tape sticks nicely. If we'd put oil on it before this, we'd be in trouble because it would just lift off. But it sticks nicely, and I'm going to cut some lengths, different thicknesses, and I'll need a cutting board for that. But I'll come back in a second when the whole of this is masked off, and then I'll be ready to reprofile each of the frets, followed by polishing them all out. Once we've done that, then it's on with the electronics or the pickguard, wire everything up, restring it, and then start to just tweak the final bit of the setup, and hopefully get to hear how good these Ironstone pickups sound. So back in a mo. So I'm just in the process now of reshaping these frets, and it's quite quick, and it's a very effective diamond coated file. Some frets hardly need any reshaping at all. Those are the ones that didn't get much levelling, and others that have, namely the ones that have had more flattening to level them, require more time to round them off. So, and some require different parts of each fret requires a different amount of work on them to get to where we want to get. So we don't even treat each one consistently all the way across. We have to sometimes spend a little bit more time on the edges, for example, is typical, like this one, but less in the middle. And a quick pass over will show us where the effort has to be placed, so it's quite effective, and that's thanks to using the marker pen again across the top of the frets. It's a very good way of showing us how much work is required. And once we've done all this, it's a case of polishing these frets up to a nice playing shine, ready to go basically. To do that, I use a range of different grades of sandpaper, wet and dry paper, followed by micromesh papers, which go right up to about 12,000 grit. So it shouldn't take too long to get through all of this. Having done a complete refret on this neck, we're heading towards the sort of fun bit, which is where we get to put some real strings on, put the pick guard in, wire it in, and then have a try out to see what this thing sounds like. Pretty confident about what it will play like, as a result of the fret leveling process being fairly familiar, something I do a lot. So refretted necks, for my liking, have a very particular feel to them, which I like. The frets feel quite tall and play notes quite cleanly, so you feel a very distinct. It's actually quite hard to describe because the feeling is subjective, but if you can imagine that you've got quite a height of fret, so the fingers are feeling more string and the tops of the fret than they are feeling the wood underneath, and that's quite a big change. Particularly if you get your own guitar refretted, you'll go from feeling a very close contact between fingers and wood to a very, very different. I mean, it's only a matter of a millimetre or so, or even less, but it'll feel quite different. The fact that you're hardly touching the wood at all. Okay, so almost at the end. There we go. So that's it. the crowning or reprofiling, whichever you want to call it, done. Now we get ready to do the sandpapery part. And what's good about that is that at this stage, if it's a freshly refretted neck, it also gives us an opportunity to just soften off some of these edges. So it's the final, I guess it's the point of final treatment for the frets. It's all pretty much rounded off anyway, done by files up till now. But this part of the process now gives us the chance to just use the sandpaper just to round off anything that's left. So I'm going to save you from all the noise this makes. Often I film this all the way through, but in case you've never seen it before, you can. I'm going to start with 600 grit, 1200, and then from 15 up to 12,000 as the final polish, which is a series of 9. The fret leveling file had 400 grit on it, so it's very light. That file there was 300, so it's gone backwards a bit, but we'll go from 300 scratches to 600 to 1200 to 1500 right the way through to the 12,000. So by the time we get to the end of it, this will be smooth and polished and would be ready to move on. So the point, the key thing to do with this is to make sure you don't just want to get a block and start sanding across the top, because what you'll do is you'll end up flattening out the frets again. So my experience of doing this is the art of it is to try and have vertical pressure on this. I use my fingers to begin with, but then I use a bit later on I switch to a shaped block, which allows me to kind of keep the pressure so that it forces the paper to ride up and over each individual fret, and that preserves the sort of rounded profile. So you can see I'm just pressing down, not too hard, but I'm running the whole length, and my aim is to remove all the remainder of the marker pen at this point, whilst treating all of the frets with the same amount of pressure. We don't want to obviously introduce any more unevenness. We've leveled it out, we've gone to a lot of trouble to do that. So this, you need to be conscious of doing the same amount to all of the frets, just to preserve their relative levelness. The first couple of frets always miss out on a lot of treatment, so I do tend to give them some extra sanding. They just don't get as much or as consistent a pressure as the ones in the middle, and the same to the end up here. This is quite messy, it starts to build up quite a lot of dust, and you want to be ready to brush this off outside and try to avoid breathing too much of it in. You can see I've masked off quite a bit of the body as well, because what I don't want to do is end up running off here with the sandpaper. Now while I'm at it, this is the first of the pieces worn out. While I'm at it with a new piece, I'm going to just concentrate on going over the edges now. Just want to smooth off any of these edges standing out, which are hardly any on this. I've done a nice job on them already, but just in case, just go up and down it, and if I do it with my thumb, it sort of goes in and out of every fret edge as well. There we go. And then I'll go back to the up and down. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to cut this, put the radio on while I do it, and I'll come back when I've got this all ready, and then it'll be a case of putting the hardware in, getting it strung, and we'll see what it sounds like. Okay, so all that done, I've nipped ahead. Let's put the pickguard back on, or the new pickguard on with the new pickups, and all the holes line up except for one, which doesn't quite match the all important hole down the back here, so I'm going to have to do something. Not quite sure what I'm going to do to make this bit back up, particularly as it's got a bit of a, it just sits up a little tiny bit and sitting up on the wires basically. So we'll have a look. There's no way of repositioning it really to do anything else. So we might just have to fire this screw in slightly sideways to get it to work. Apart from that, everything else looks nice. Got that one flat. Obviously I haven't had a chance to try out the pickups yet because it's yet to be wired up to the doofer, you know. That's not the same colour as everything else, but hey, it's not too bad. So this is all nice and smooth now, ready to be restrung. I'm going to get these connected up and also connect up this one at the back, you know, the ground one, and yeah, so it's looking quite nice, ready to go. It's, you know, it's not the greatest body in the world, but it's overall it's not a bad looking machine. Hopefully with these pickups it's going to play really nicely, so I'm pleased with that. From a very worn out old Affinity, which to be honest, when I got it was only good for parts, if that, but now is, you know, is in a much more enjoyable, playable condition. So I'm really looking forward to getting the strings on it any minute now, and see what we've got. So yeah, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with this end one here. We could go in slightly sideways, but if we do, it's going to break away the edge of it. The alternative is we put another hole in next to it. It's a bit ugly. And it is an important place because it needs to be held down there because of the various wires that are underneath there. Anyway, I'll switch off the camera. I'm going to get the that bit done off camera, and I'll come back when I'm stringing it and getting ready to try it out. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so it's together. It is all together. I got this one in. Okay, so we've got that part of the thingy nailed down. The pickguard is tied down nicely at that end, and I've got the thingy jack plug bit now on. Just need to clean this off. Right, and I've just tested it and the pickups are working in the correct order. That's all good. So it's now a case of let's get it strung, and let's have a hear how it sounds and plays. So I'll dig out a set of springs from somewhere. Oh yeah, they're up here. Let me kill the soldering iron first. Let's get some 42s, some 9s. And I've also glued on glued down the nut as well. So what have we got? What I'm going to do is just string up, or get all these strings through first, and then I'm going to have a listen. I think it looks quite nice, this guitar. It's certainly it's a amazing how much better it is than when I got it. And to me that, I suppose, is that's why I'm happy to do it, because it's what Reloved guitars is about. There's no reason why a tired old Affinity Strat can't be made to play really well. To do some things to it. And I suppose the most significant of all, really, I mean, you can change out pickups quite easily and often, but I think the real difference here is the refretting the neck. I mean, without that the guitar is doomed. It has no future. It's got no playing future. It'll just be scrap before long. And the problem is for an Affinity is, on paper it doesn't make economic sense to refret it, because, you know, for professional service is around about 150 quid or something like that to refret a guitar neck. You know, even if you get it special rates and slightly cheaper than that, it's still, you know, you've spent the same again as the guitar cost, so it doesn't make a lot of sense. But for me, you know, if I've got a bit of downtime and I can kind of do them all together, which I did a couple of necks all together the other day, it just means I can sort of mass produce a few without it taking quite so much time. So anyway, what I'm just doing here is putting some oil onto this fingerboard, and you can see it's lapping it up because it was really dry before that. Makes it look quite nice. Of course, it has been resurfaced slightly, not a huge amount, but it's certainly had some resurfacing when I refretted it. So just to make sure that the radius was good, and, you know, took away any dents and scratches and pock marks and so on. So now we have a nice colour neck coming out there. And here we go, the fun part. We need the cutters here, and I'm just going to basically get the strings on first and foremost, and then making sure they're on at the bottom there. I'm going to go over once and then under once or twice, however many we get through. So it didn't really pull back far enough. Maybe that's better. That didn't lock exactly. I think I need to pull back a bit further on these thick strings. Anyway. So go through, make sure the barrel bit is come up, because that's always the bit that often the bit that can get stuck down and then pop forward when you're least expecting it. So pull back a little bit further this time, give myself a bit more winding room to get under the slack string this time, get a bit more of a grip. Probably shouldn't have cut these off short. I tend to, if I'm thinking straight, when I do a Strat, I tend to leave an extra straight bit on in case we need to rethread. It doesn't hurt to give ourselves the ability to do that in case something goes wrong. We need to thread it. But I basically didn't give myself the room to do that because I've cut them short straight away. So if I had to rethread, I would find myself having to straighten these curls out again, like we did right at the beginning with the dummy strings. Anyway. Okay, so it's looking nice. This is a definite turnaround, this old beastie. I just hope it plays as good as the feedback, or the reviews I should say I've heard about these Ironstones make out. Because if they do, then it will be a great find, because and affordable budget pickup that's credible will be really nice to add to not only things like affinity squares like this, Squier Affinity Strat I should say, but it will also do well for Sun Mustangs, which although I think they play pretty well to begin with, it'd be nice to just be able to upgrade those pickups a little bit more. Right, to come along. Nearly there. One more, followed by some stretching. I just like how tidy this thing looks, especially with those cream pickup covers. I mean, that is such a good looking little touch, I think. Almost there. The thing about a basic affinity like this is what it does have is by default, it's not a bad neck, and the pickups, the tuners are absolutely fine. If you can just get the rest of it right, then you've got yourself a good guitar. It's just getting there. Ooh, twang. Right, so the stretchy bit, just going to go up and down the length of the string, just pushing thumb and fingers, pushing outwards, just to remove any natural stretch in the string. These pickups I've set quite low to begin with. I'm going to see if I can detect the different tonality by moving them around. There are a lot of people who swear by particular positions or particular heights they set their pickups at. I know in principle, what little I know, is that in principle the lower they are, the less output you're getting, but the cleaner the tone, the more dynamic the tone. So if you want to, if you've got a good amp and you can turn that up, then you can sacrifice output for a bit of gain on your amp. Almost perfectly in tune on the spot there. So these are low. Put it on clean. Do some more gentle stretching. So it's not putting out much output at the moment, so they're quite low down. So I'm going to bring them up to start with, and I'll go high and then see what we get as we pull back. Again, it's a play off of tone versus output, really, isn't it? tonal range. Wow. Stop for a minute because I want to get something to drink, but just a quick hold up. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen, the knackered old, was knackered old Squier Affinity Strat, given a completely new lease of life with a complete refret. You can see there with medium jumbo fret wire from our friend Stumac, and we've got a really nice set of Ironstone Gold pickups in there with cream covers and some better, nice cream looking knobs to go with it. New pickguard on top, and starting to get there. So I'm very pleased with how that's sounding and looking. Gonna hang up there for a little bit while I mess around with the pickup heights, and then I'll come back to you with a sort of final version. But yeah, hope you enjoyed watching that come together. You can see still here there's some marks where the stickers have been over time and it's bleached different colours. I'm not going to do anything with that. I'm going to leave it as a, you know, it's a road-worn guitar. It's not new by any means, but it does definitely have a new lease of life, which is great. And given that it was on the verge of going in the bin a few weeks ago when I got it, I'm pretty impressed with how it's turned out. Nice lustrous looking rosewood neck as well. Okay, a little bit more in a minute when I've got it sorted, but for now, thank you for spending time with me in the Reloved workshop. So, pickups adjusted. I've got a bit more to do on intonation in a minute. Neck and middle, middle, bridge and middle. And bridge. So the usable ones are, I think, neck. Yeah, middle, neck and middle, and neck. Nice sounding ones anyway. fingers going black from the strings. So there we have it. Intonation to do. I might just double check the heights of these lower strings here in terms of the height of the first fret. But it's nice, I like these ironstone pickups. The bridge pickups used to be quite low output compared to the neck. Forgot to look at the specs. So look at the tone. Okay, so let's just get straight on into this last little thing before we finish up on this one. It's a case of let's get the tuner up and the screwdriver necessary for the job. And I think we could be already equipped. I think we are. So let's go straight for a tuning on the harmonic. Sharp. So that string is too short. So, oh blimey, do a bit more pulling away. Don't have much more room to pull. Too long now. Probably was before I've gone the wrong way. There we are. That if it's flat, it means that it's just going forward. Yeah, bit by bit. It means that the string is too long, so I'm moving the bridge now saddle this way to shorten it. Got to retune. Still too short, so I'll carry on pushing the saddle outwards. Counterclockwise is the way I want to go. Counterclockwise a bit more. Counterclockwise still, counterclockwise. we go. According to that, we've got to take all of these others way forward. We may end up running out of room before we get there, judging by this. Let's hope not. Quite interesting. Seems to be forcing us a long way forward. No matter what we do, it's going the same way. Not great. We've run out of room now. Something tell me this thing isn't telling me the truth. I'm not sure about this. Slightly sharp, so that needs to come back a bit. So there's something wrong with this E and this tuner for some reason, I think anyway. I'll try another tuner afterwards. Now let's take if we take the A as a good start point. So we need to come lengthen it basically. Okay. That's flat, so it needs to get shorter, so anti-clockwise. That's It's on. It's on. Slightly sharp, so we'll just come back clockwise. So those first 5 are correct. I'm going to adjust this according to the position rather than what this tuner's telling me, because I know that these things follow the pattern much more than I trust this tuner with the frequency on this E. My ears were telling me that the octave was wrong. See, it's still sharp, it's reading flat. It was close to the octave, or close to the same note. This is telling me flat, but it's not right. So these are correct. This one I'm going to check with a different tuner in a minute. I'm going to trust the pattern, the normal relationship between these strings and each other, more than I'm going to trust this tuner on that lower E, because it's not telling me the truth. Fine, that's absolutely perfectly intonated. Okay, so that might be a good argument for bringing out the Korg tuner that I bought recently. Anyway, so that's the Affinity Strat. Sorry, I'm knocking it off here. Intonated, and I think, oh yeah, apart from the slight little tweak on the nut action, that's going to be it for this one. So I will sign off here, because I will just do that last little bit off camera. There we have it. Finally, once again, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Ironstone Gold pickups. What I haven't put in here is the old tremolo arm. It's a bit of a conky old thing. There you go, including tremolo arm, for what it's worth, and we could set that up at a later date as well. But everything looking good. Handsome looking guitar, if you ask me. All in the right sort of colours now. The only thing, I suppose, the tip of these two are slightly off beam, but at least they match the pickguard anyway. Right, so that's it. Put the back plate on, and then we'll be done. See you again soon.